time for freshman initiation. 58 new rookie lawmakers sworn into the House of Representatives, 43 Republicans, 15 Democrats. Across the hall in the U.S. Senate, 13 newly elected senators get set to take their office, all but one of them Republicans. We'll continue to keep our eye on the nation's capital to find out, as they say, if these new politicians will change Washington or if Washington will change them. American voters have high hopes. We'll see if they can deliver.
Another cargo ship runs into problems off the coast of England. A car transporter ship grounded out near the Isle of Wight. All 25 crew members were rescued safely, but the biggest struggle is the ship's salvage. The vessel sits now at a 52-degree angle, with over 1,400 cars on board and up to 80 pieces of construction equipment, including cranes, stone crushers, and excavators. According to the chief executive of the ship's owner, the vessel was purposely grounded and said this showed great skill and seamanship on behalf of our crew when facing such challenging circumstances. The ship was on its way to Germany from Southampton when it developed an issue. An investigation into the incident is now underway. An act to stimulate the European economy may begin soon as the euro falls to a 9-year low. The European Central Bank has yet to launch a program of quantitative easing, but the ECB President Mario Draghi hinted towards it this week. The ECB has already purchased a few bonds from private companies, along with cutting their interest levels to record lows. Now the ECB may look to quantitative easing to create a surplus of cash into the bank in order to jumpstart the economy. This would include the purchase of buying government bonds, previously done by the UK and the US. A 1.2% low against the dollar has now caused the euro to drop to its lowest point since 2006. A previously unknown queen's tomb has been unearthed in Egypt this week. The tomb is believed to be that of Queen Kentakawis III. Her name was found inscribed on a wall in Pharaoh Nefertiti's funeral complex. Based on the location of the tomb, archaeologists believe she was the wife or mother of the pharaoh who ruled nearly 4,500 years ago. Researchers are excited that with this most current find, they will be able to learn more about the 5th and 4th dynasty. That was the time period in which the pyramids were created.
It's one of those stories that caused people to stop in their tracks the moment they heard the news. 3 people died, more than 260 were injured in the Boston Marathon bombing. Now, 2 years later, the trial is underway. The man on trial, Johar Tsarnaev. Now, prosecutors say he and his brother placed a bomb near the finish line. But his brother won't be testifying in this trial. FBI agents shot him dead 3 days later in a manhunt. And they claim they found a written confession scribbled inside a boat where Johar and his brother Tamerlan were hiding from the FBI. Now, despite several attempts to move the trial out of Boston, the judge refused all of those requests and says it is possible to find an impartial jury in Boston. But that won't be an easy task. Already, fights broke out just outside the courtroom doors earlier in some of the proceedings there. Bombing victims arguing with Tsarnaev's supporters. Many of these supporters claim he's innocent. They say he's set up by the FBI. As you can imagine, that claim doesn't sit well with many of the people who lost loved ones or limbs in the blast. Now the court has to narrow the pool of potential jury members down. The odds, 1 out of 100 potential jurors will be selected for the job. They could start over, though, if they don't have enough people. It's going to be 12 people picked out of a pool of 1,200. One of the qualifiers to make the jury, you have to at least be open to the idea or the concept of the death penalty. In other news, a growing number of D.C. lawmakers want to know more about the role of Saudi Arabia in the terrorist attacks on 9/11, another story from years past. Lawsuits, petitions, letters, even legislation, all part of ammunition being used in the fight for transparency for 9/11. Out of 900 pages, 28 of them from that 2002 congressional report on 9/11 are fully redacted, blacked out. It's classified information. Those pages talk specifically about the role of the Saudi Arabian government and what possible impact they might have had on the terrorist attack. Now, there's a bipartisan group of lawmakers, and they're demanding answers. They want to lift the classified status from those pages and instead shine a light on what could have happened. Former Democratic Senator Bob Graham calls the whole thing a cover-up. He says those Saudi terrorists were funded directly from people in the Los Angeles Saudi Arabian consulate, the embassy in D.C., and several people in Sarasota, Florida, those people having ties to the royal Saudi family. Now, Saudi government lawyers deny any connections to the terrorist attacks, and until this point, both President Obama and President Bush refused to release any of the information. Some of the senators and key congressmen involved, North Carolina Republican Walter Jones and Massachusetts Democrat Stephen Lynch, they both demand Obama release the documents in a press conference. Both lawmakers held a similar press conference on Capitol Hill last year, but that time got little response. Moving on now, with the new year behind us, a cold front sweeps the nation. Several states frozen in an Arctic chill. It's the coldest weather we've seen on record so far this season, and several meteorologists believe this time it could be dangerous. Temperatures dipping down as low as 35 degrees below zero in several states. An average high temperature just a few degrees above zero throughout almost every state east of the Rocky Mountains. It's a lot of people there. The Northern Plains, Ohio Valley, those two places are set to get hit with the worst of this Arctic injection. They could see negative 45 degrees on the thermometer. Chicago's record low for this time of year is -10, but that record could be shattered as soon as Thursday morning. Now, closer to the East Coast, it won't be quite as bad. People in Boston, New York, Philadelphia, they're all bundling up for weather in the low teens, while some people in the northern parts of Florida will actually see weather below freezing. It's unheard of in that region.